Wow. You're going to hear it first on talkSPORT. Chelsea, in the last few moments, have parted company with Thomas Tuchel. It is over for Thomas Tuchel at Chelsea. So they go to Dinamo Zagreb last night and they lose by a single goal to 0. And that, presumably, with a bunch of other things in recent weeks, has meant the end for Thomas Tuchel. Danny Murphy is alongside Simon and myself here in studio. Danny, your instant reaction to that bombshell news?
Really shocked. Really surprised, actually. I like him. He's intelligent. He's one of the top managers out there. I think it's too early. That's my gut feeling. It's too early. You look at the two centre-halves they've brought in. One they've brought in from Napoli, who's taken a little while to get settled. Fofana's just got there. He's just brought in the centre-forward they've been crying out for. Kante's been out. Yeah, it's not a perfect start. Their away form has been a bit poor. And he's occasionally, a couple of his interviews have been a little bit whingy and whiny, but I'm not sure it's the right thing. I'm really surprised, and I think it's too early. I think it's a knee-jerk reaction to a game last night that they dominated and would have won 9 out of 10.
Well, Simon, I mean, the reaction to this is quite uncanny here at talkSPORT. I'm looking at the messages that are coming in. We haven't even offered the lines to be open. They are open. Of course they are. 03717 223344. Chelsea fans, what do you think? Danny, with the first reaction this morning, live on talkSPORT, says it's way too early. But now it would appear no one should doubt the mindset of this man at the top, Mr. Bowley. So in the last few minutes, Chelsea say this, Simon, on behalf of everyone at Chelsea Football Club, the club would like to place on record its gratitude to Thomas Tuchel and his staff for all their efforts during their time with the club. Thomas will rightly have a place in Chelsea's history after winning the Champions League, the Super Cup and the Club World Cup in his time here. And they go on to say, as the new ownership group reaches 100 days since taking over the club, and as it continues its hard work to take the club forward, the new owners believe it is the right time to make this transition. So Tuchel is gone. Simon, what's your take on it?
Obviously, they've got someone lined up. They've obviously made a decision. God forbid, I hope it's not Pochettino. But may well be. But the bottom line is that they've made a decision. It doesn't feel like a footballing decision. It doesn't feel... He hasn't been right. You know, even I, who's a major advocate, have been talking about him in recent times in less glowing terms, and I've talked about him previously. I think I described him as an agitated pepperami man the other day. And look, they haven't been great, but Tuchel has enough currency in footballing terms to have been given an opportunity to correct this slight malaise. This game in the Champions League is an incidental. They'll qualify and come out of it. It's not a great result. It's not on the back of results against Leeds and Southampton. But notwithstanding that, it's an incidental. They'll qualify from their group. I'd be gobsmacked if they didn't. The bottom line is something else is afoot here. I mean, he does find himself in situations with football club ownerships that put him at odds with them. You know, he was relatively successful at PSG and yet found himself on the other side of an argument relatively quickly with the owners of PSG. That's a great point, Sam. And here he is now at almost exactly the same amount of time he was at PSG. So there's something more to this. It isn't just a ruthless owner cutting through what he considers to be the football landscape. There'll be lots of noise about this. Lots of people will make observations about Bowley and how much he's spent and what he's doing here.
But Simon, I think Danny made a good observation there. He has been creaking a bit when we've heard from him of late.
Totally.
And you've been on that, Simon. You're saying, well, hang on, this isn't the Thomas Tuchel that was so impressive when he first arrived.
Totally. From the reaction to Antonio Conte, which was based upon them getting a game taken away from them at the last minute and disappointments as a matter of course, but just the dynamic of what he expected from Conte in terms of looking to my eyes and react to me in a certain way, through to the kind of carping and groaning and slightly lightweight excuses about coaching staff having to go up on buses rather than planes, to the performance of the team. And everything has seemed to be a little bit light in terms of what you expect from him. Irrespective of all of that, this is a seismic decision to take a guy out that clearly is a top-rate manager that clearly has done things for Chelsea in the last 8, and it flies in the face of what I said the other day. I thought he would get the benefit of an Abramovich departed mentality where they gave you 18 months. Don't matter what you do. If you don't do the next thing, you're out. Yeah. And these guys have fallen into this. But there is clearly something else afoot here.
Although you say there might be something else afoot, and there might be something in that, fair enough. But when you look at the signings, you could argue some of the signings that Chelsea would bring in anyway, whoever's in charge. He gave him Aubameyang on the last day because he's worked with him. He obviously backed him and he wanted that man. So the owner said to him, you can have Aubameyang.
Yeah.
I don't think he was, before the deadline day, when he said have Aubameyang, thinking he was going to get rid of him.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
think this result is a huge factor in them pushing the button. I don't think it's the only factor. I think you're right, Simon, but it is a factor, and that is the naivety of this owner.
But that's a poor decision then.
He doesn't understand football. If he thinks...
Danny, a lot of people are going with you. Danny's observation is right. He has not been sounding himself in recent days.
Well, he's had his own problems off the field.
convincing.
He's had his own problems off the field as well, and we never know how that affects your management, and what you're doing day in, day out. But if you look at the team, they've started, especially away from home, they've started slowly. The new signings haven't really hit the ground running. There's a few problems from a football when you're looking at it from a footballing perspective. I'm not sure we'd be having this conversation now if they'd won 4-0 last night. That's my belief. I think sometimes a bad result, especially someone who doesn't understand football, can become sensationalised in their head and think, my God, we've got a problem if we're losing in a game like that.
Well, I think I get the impression, Simon, correct me if I'm wrong, you've worked there, Simon, I haven't, that Americans look at certain milestone moments, if you like, and that could be the key line in the statement. If you've just tuned in this morning to talkSPORT with myself, Simon and Danny, Thomas Tuchel has just been sacked by Chelsea. But the key line in there, Simon, for me, and this says American ownership to me, the new ownership group reaches 100 days since taking over the club. And as it continues its hard work, Simon, you know about them. This is how they operate, isn't it?
Yeah, they are, but they're also realistic in their expectations and understanding of certain things. Now, clearly, if you're going to catastrophise a result against Dynamo Zagreb and make a decision on the basis of that, then you're not thinking in the right way. Now, there must be other conversations that have gone on, because what amuses me, because Aubameyang's gone there for Chelsea, to play for Chelsea, because he's going to play for a manager that will probably tolerate some of this nonsense.
That's right.
And he's gone out the door.
Right.
But the bottom line is that clearly, if it is as acute as we've lost Dynamo Zagreb, bang, we're pulling the trigger, then they possibly may not have a replacement in mind.
Yeah.
But this is not, in my view, and I'm always for firing managers that deserve it, this is not big boy thinking.
You wouldn't have sacked him.
Unless there's something really materially going on behind the scenes that we don't see outside, then I can't see why I would have done. No.
Why would you give him Aubameyang? Because that's not a signing they've made with the future of Chelsea.
And 250 million in the window.
Yeah, but some of those players you could give to any coach because they're that good.
Yeah.
But when you'll get giving him Aubameyang on the last day, which is a week ago, less than a week ago, he's on board with the manager, isn't he? The owner's not going to say, you have the player you want, we'll give him stupid wages and we'll get him through the door.
Yeah.
If you're thinking of getting rid of him.